Hey everybody, I'm Greg.
And I'm Katie. Welcome to the Meeple Society. Today we are on episode 66, part 5 of the Peas. But as always, before we get started, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content, and of course hit that bell icon if you want any notifications of future content.
And if you want to follow us on social media, hit the link below. P is for party.
P is definitely for party.
This is all party games.
Yeah.
If you don't like party games, still watch.
It's large player count. Some of them I wouldn't even consider party games, but they're all large player count, more or less.
I can see most of these though played at a party.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's
Okay,
start.
so we're gonna start with a bunch of crap.
Oh boy, literally.
This is Poo the Card Game.
All right, so we've played this one a couple times now. I have to almost read the start of this. The premise of this.
It's flinging poo.
It's been a tough day in the monkey cage, and something in the food tonight wasn't quite right. In the monkey world, there's only one thing that can be done about it. Fling poo. In fact, at one point in the rules, it literally tells you to, oh my gosh, where was that? Which one was it? It tells you to take it like a monkey, basically. If somebody hits you with poo, just take it like a monkey.
Too bad.
It's all good.
They're going to hit you.
So the idea with this one is everybody has 5 cards in their hand, and you always have 5 cards in your hand. There are, like any, I don't even want to call it a combat card game, but there's
You're flinging poo.
There's poo cards that you're flinging at other players. There's defense cards, and then there's event cards that basically make whatever's happening that turn to stop. So, yeah, there's special poo card mishap. That's what they're called, mishap cards. So you're playing a poo card on one particular player in the game, and like this one here is the Chim Chim Poo. It does 2 poo damage to one player, one opponent, and if they have a defense card in their hand, they can defend against that. They can basically just block. Or if somebody has a mishap card, you can play a mishap card to block it. And all the cards do something different. I mean, it has the potential to be a funny game.
It is a funny game with the right people.
With the right people, it is a very funny game, yes. I think everybody has to kind of let go of that inhibition about flinging poo, I guess. I don't know. It's basically a player elimination.
Yep.
Everybody basically can take up to 15 poo points. The first player, in a smaller player count game, the first player basically gets the golden banana. Goes down to 8. Yeah. Goes down to 8 damage, basically. And then re-enters the game.
Cleans off all but 8 poo.
Right. Now, and there are clean cards in here.
Yes,
there's lots of cards in here that remove poo and lots of ways to defend. I want to say our game lasted probably about 45 minutes. It was not supposed to last that long.
No, we were just having too much fun throwing poo at each other.
Yes. Yes, it was interesting. It's not something we're ever going to pull out. However, it is a small card game, and I can definitely see it being entertaining with the right group of people. So we are going to hold on to it. It can go into the card case. So that's where it's going to reside. But that is Poo the Card Game. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to clean up the act for a little bit.
For a little bit.
We got phase 10.
Oh, okay.
We have phase 10 masters.
Yes.
And then we have phase 10 twist.
This does not stay shut.
Well, you know.
The tin is not the best, I'm afraid. All right, so they're all pretty much the same thing. They all play exactly the same. The idea with base phase 10 is there are, you guessed it, 10 phases in the game. For the first phase, all players, are you trying to fix the tin?
Go on.
In the first phase, all players are trying to get 2 sets of 3 cards. Now, you start the game with 10 cards.
Yep.
And you always have 10 cards in your hand until you are able to lay down your phase. So the first, basically once you have 2 sets of 3 in the first phase, you lay your cards down and then you spend the rest of that round, very nice, Congratulations.
I'm proud of myself.
Then you spend the rest of that round trying to get rid of your extra cards, the last 4 cards in your hand, by either hitting one of your phase cards. Say you have a set of 3s and a set of 4s. Well, if you pull another 3 out of the deck, then you can lay that down onto your phase of 3s. Or maybe one of your opponents has a phase of 3 7s. Well, then you pull a 7, you can lay it on theirs. And you keep doing this until you're out of cards. First player out of cards wins that phase. Everybody else, if you were able to lay down your phase, if you were at least able to get down your 2 sets of 3, or your 1 run of 9, or your 2 sets of 4, or whatever phase it happens to be, if you were able to at least get those out of your hand and onto the table, then you can move on to the next phase. You just take some negative points because of the cards left in your hand. The idea is to end up with the least amount of points, because you get negative points for every card left in your hand at the end of the phase.
Because each card type is like 1 to 9 was 10 points. I don't remember now.
I don't remember.
It was
5
ungodly
points, 10
points.
points, and yeah, I don't remember. I remember I lost pretty badly.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, on that one, yeah.
Yes, I did.
Maybe you did.
Phase 10 Masters. The big difference with this one is, okay. The big difference with this one is it actually gave every player, and they color code your players, it gave every player phase cards. So everybody could tell exactly what phase the yellow player was on. If they were on phase 6 and they needed a run of 9, or they were on phase 7 and they needed 2 sets of 4, or phase 10 where they need a set of 5 and a set of 3. So everybody could see exactly where you were at, and I did like that. I do like that accountability, whereas this one did not have that.
No.
This one added, oh my gosh, what did they call it? It was a storehouse, essentially. I'm trying to remember what they call it.
Oh, yeah,
now.
because you could store your cards.
You could store a card.
Up to a certain amount or something like that.
Instead of discarding, you could instead store a card. And then at one point later in the game, later on in the game, instead of drawing, you could pull one out of your storehouse. So it added a weird twist to it and a little more strategy to the idea. But still the same basis. You're still losing points. If you don't finish your round, you just don't go on unless you finish, et cetera, et cetera. So phase 10 twist. This one drastically, I don't want to say it changed the game, but it definitely put a new wrinkle in it.
It did. I liked it a lot better than any other phase 10s.
So this is your board. You have your board out. So now in all the other 2 phase 10s we played, you had one draw pile, one discard pile, and that was it. There was no board. It was just a card game. This one actually gives you a board, and this is your board. It has this draw plate in the middle of it. You have your deck, and you have 3 discard piles instead of just 1. Everybody has player markers. Oh my gosh, these are wedged down in there. Hold on, to get these out, I gotta literally pop them from below. Everybody has a player marker, and you start on phase 1. Everybody's stacked up. You play through the phase like normal, and it tells you right there what phase 1 is. 2 sets of 3. So you play through phase 1. You're discarding cards into one of the 3 discard piles. The only real rule is if you draw the last card in
out of
a
the pile,
pile,
you have to put discard back.
At the end of the round, after somebody has gone out of cards, just like in any other phase 10 game, at that point, where you were in that phase dictates how far you're going to move.
Yep.
If you won the phase, if you ran out of cards, you get to move 3 spaces. If you laid down, but you did not run out of cards, if you completed the phase, but you did not run out of cards, you got to move 2 spaces. If you were not able to even get your phase down, you still have a handful of 10 cards, then you at least get to move 1 space. You still get to progress through the game.
Unlike the other ones where
Unlike
if you didn't finish the phase, you had to redo that whole phase.
Now with this one though, some of the phases are repeated. So if you didn't lay down and you were only here and you're still going to repeat phase 2, but at least you're progressing a little bit. If you end up on a twist, you have 3 options. You can take the phase before it, the phase after it, or you can draw from the phase deck. And the phase deck is essentially 1 card of each phase. So if you get up here where you need to run a 9, it might be worth it to take your chances and pull from the phase deck. Because you could end up with just 7 of one color. Who knows? You could end up with an easy one. I really like this one.
Yeah,
I
like
like
this one
the
better than the other
progression of it. I like the options you were given on the twists. I just thought this one was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Now, it does, maybe
This one's a lot more friendlier because
so
you're
too.
like, oh, I didn't go out. Look, I have 75 points in my hand.
Yes. So at least you didn't get stuck with a ton of points if you were not able to go out.
because when we played the original one, we were going back and forth a lot.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You were like, I had 0 points because I kept going out, and you had like 65, and then like the next turn you went out,
and you had like 180
I didn't even,
or something.
I hadn't even
laid down yet.
Yeah, didn't even complete the phase. Hadn't laid down yet, and I had
ugly.
like 75, 80 points in my hand. So
Yeah.
this one's a lot friendlier.
I like this one that there's no negative points. There's just simply a winner. That's it. There's no point value. But I like the 3 discard piles. I like the constant progression. I like the pressure luck at the twist phases. The thing. It's a little more than just a straightforward, easy to take with you card game. But I think in the long run, this is the one that's going to stay. This is the one I can see us pulling out again to play with other players.
Yeah. And I think phase 10 period needs to be, you need to have 4 players.
I think so too. We played this one 2-player, and I didn't
it was
care
like,
for it. It was okay. It was
and
just
I like
we were going
this
back
one
and
at 4
forth.
players because you do have the 3 different discard piles, and everybody's going, well, Katie's going for red. Cover that red up. And
Yes.
it's like, well, there's the card I need.
So
That's the only card in that pile. Sorry, I got to lay down over there.
Yeah, and that happened to me a couple
and
times.
it allowed you to strategize with the 3 decks. Kind of like, okay, if Doug doesn't take this one, it only has to go through Sarah. Oh, there's 2 cards that I could use. Okay, I'm going to get one of those cards.
Exactly. I like this one. We're going to hold on to this one. These 2 are going to leave the collection. I just don't see the reason to hold on to 3 phase 10 decks. And this one is much more likely to come off our shelf.
Yeah.
If the time, and you can play it normal. Just take the deck of cards and play normal phase 10 if you want to. So, but at least you have that option of the twist rules, and I like that. So, all right, that is phase 10
Masters.
and phase 10 twist.
Okay, next is Deluxe Pit.
Oh my God.
This was another one that was a blast with 4 people.
We played this with Doug and Sarah.
Yep. This
Saturday.
plays with
Up to 6.
3 to 8.
8.
3 to 8.
Yes.
Oh my God, that would be chaos with 8 players.
I actually want to try it sometime because I thought it would be fun. Okay, so when Sarah saw this sitting up on the shelf, she started laughing. I guess she used to play this all the time in high school with some friends, and it got so loud and so rambunctious. Her friend's mom was constantly coming downstairs going, "What is going on?" Because this stupid bell was ringing constantly. Of course, it wasn't a nice bell like this one. It was one of the older ones. But, all right, so how you play. There are 8 different types of commodities in here. And you play 1 commodity per person that's playing. And you can play this 2-player. No, you can't. It's 3 to 6.
It's 3 to 8.
They'd be silly to play it 2-player.
Yeah, because you're
just
trading between the 2 of them.
Yeah, that'd
and
be
it's
no
like,
fun. All right, so you pull out 1 commodity per player. There's 9 cards in each commodity. You shuffle everything up, you deal out 9 cards to all players. And then you look at your hand and you try to decide which commodity are you going after. And then as soon as the dealer yells, "Market's open," or "Trades are open," or whatever the phrase was, everybody starts going, "I've got 2 to trade. I've got 2 to trade." And you don't want to tell anybody what you're trading. "I've got 2 to trade," or "I've got 3 to trade," or 4 to trade, or, "Well, somebody else only has 3. Okay, fine, I'll give you 3. I'll try to trade this other one later." You can go anywhere from 1 to 4 cards that you can trade out. There were more times than not, I would trade 2 cards and get the exact same 2 cards back. Okay, Sarah's not collecting oil either. Got it. So it was just, oh my gosh, I lost miserably. Oh my gosh, I think I ended 1 round. And there were more times that multiples of us were reaching for this bell. And
well, that one,
it was so much fun.
I barely got in under Doug's hand there.
I know.
But they need to update this game.
Why?
They need to add concentrated orange juice. Do you get the reference?
No, apparently I don't.
Those people do.
Okay. You want to share?
It's Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd.
Oh.
When Dan Aykroyd was the successful stock trader and Eddie Murphy was a bum.
Okay. I forgot about that.
The end thing was all about concentrated orange juice.
Okay. Anyway, super fun game. I did not expect it to be that much fun. And I really, really enjoyed it. I would love to try this at 6 or 8 players sometime. As long as Doug and Sarah are in it, because we had a blast.
Hey, be glad I didn't do that through the whole thing.
Anyway, that is Pit. It is staying around. Great game. And this one is, this dates back. Oh my gosh. I'll have to, well, by now I've already shown the date it was designed. So it's an old game. But yeah. Anyway, good one. All right. Next.
Next is Phone Phever with a box lid upside down.
Yeah, well. Okay, so this is one that we had other friends come over. Saturday was our party game day. So before I go any further, I definitely want to thank Doug and Sarah. They came over and spent probably, 5 hours with us, 5.5 hours with us on Saturday afternoon. And then Chrissy and Greg and Ben. Chrissy and Greg came first, and then Ben showed up Ben showed up after we finished this game, and played out the rest of the evening with us and got us through all of these party games, which was a huge
Which we
help.
would have not gotten through if it hadn't been for them.
I was beginning to wonder how we were going to get through all of them, because none of these play well, if at all, with 2 players.
Well, this says 3+ players.
Exactly. Okay, so the way this one plays. This one has a really cute board. The idea is that the latest cell phone, the latest smartphone has come out at the Phone Phever store in the mall, and you have to stand in line and work your way up to things. You enter at the mall entrance and you work your way all the way around the board into the store. And if you answer one final challenge question in the store and you win that challenge question, then you win the game. Chrissy won this one because she is really good at using her phone, and she knows how to use Google apparently, and I do not.
She used the microphone on it.
She did use the microphone.
When somebody went to ask a question,
I never could get that.
And she hit the microphone and would
me.
record the message and then hit search.
Hey, at least she told us her trick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So there are, all of the meeples look like little people, but there are 3 different types of questions in this game. There is, 4 different spaces. There's a blue space. It's just simply when you land there, you do what it says. Move back or move forward, so many spaces. There is the primary one, which is the yellow question. Number 1, you're rolling a dice to see how far you move. Somebody reads that card, and you basically answer that question. Yellow cards and green cards, the green cards are on the back side of the red cards. That's right, because there's not very many of those. Yellow cards and green cards, you could use your phone on. Matter of fact, with green cards, you had to use your phone. With yellow cards, you may use your phone. And with red cards, you're not allowed to use your phone. It's a 50-50 choice. You got to figure it out on your own. So yellow cards are all basic trivia cards, typically about phones of some sort. Like this one, 1960s sitcom The Munsters. What type of enclosure contained the family's telephone? You're allowed to use your cell phone to look up these answers if you can find them.
It was a box, wasn't it?
It was a coffin.
Coffin's a box.
It is, but that would not have been a valid answer. So everybody's allowed to answer it. Basically, the person who landed on yellow reads the question. Everybody else looks up the answer, and whoever answers it correctly. Now, if you answer once, you can't answer again until everybody else has had a chance. And if nobody else gets it, then you can answer a second time. I think it keeps people from just shouting out answers.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But whoever wins the question takes control of the dice. So the dice does not necessarily just pass around the table. It jumps around the table, back and forth, constantly. The only time it passes is if you miss a red question. If it's your turn, you land on red, you miss the question, then it passes. That's the only time it does. Otherwise, it's jumping. So that's the yellow questions. The green questions are for Phever challenges. Phever challenges are such as be the first to call and play on a speaker a Santa Claus hotline. Chrissy would have figured that one out. I have no doubt. I'd have had no clue where to call to get that one.
Santa Claus hotline.
Right, okay. Without allowing it to touch any other part of your face, be the first to balance your phone atop of your nose.
We had
count
that.
of 5.
And nobody did it because everybody was balancing on their forehead and their nose.
No, mine was. I could. Believe me, mine did. I won that one. All right. So be the first to call and play on speaker the Grandma Party Hotline. There's a Grandma Party Hotline.
Grandma's party too.
I guess so. But anyway, these ones all directly affect your phone and doing something on your phone. So, yeah. These questions, if you answer correctly, you take control of, if you're the one who wins the challenge, you take control of the dice and you move on. Okay. The last type of question is the red one. The red ones, you cannot touch your phone. This is the only one where if you get it wrong, because it only affects the person who rolled, if you get it right, you roll again. You keep control of the die and you roll again. If you get it wrong, you have to pass the die. But these are ones like the first version of the Yellow Pages was printed in 1886, 10 years after the invention of the telephone. We had that one, didn't we?
What?
I think we did. The first version of the Yellow Pages was printed in 1886, 10 years after the invention of the telephone.
Yeah,
Fact
everybody
or
said
fiction?
fiction, and it was fact.
It was fact, yeah.
I was like, what? Weren't they still using the operator for everything then?
As evidenced by its mention in a Rhode Island newspaper, the first known prank call occurred in 1884. I feel like that's got to be fiction, but it's a fact.
Was it Graham Bell and, what's his name, Watson?
I don't know, but it was interesting. I liked some of the trivia questions on it. It was a very interesting... Some of the information in it was very interesting. That being said, we are going to go ahead and let this one go, mostly because, I don't know, I feel like anytime we take a game anywhere, the only one going to pull this out is going to be kids, 1. 2, wherever we take the games to, where teenagers are going to be, they don't always have good cell service anyway. So trying to access anything on their phones is going to be tricky.
Schools don't have a whole lot of good cell service
not.
unless you're on the Wi-Fi.
And 3, I don't want to encourage the kids to be on their phones. I want to encourage the kids to talk to each other and communicate without you touching their phones. So this one is going to leave the collection. It was a cute game. I liked the trivia on it. I found a lot of the trivia very interesting.
And how you had to go about and find it was kind of cool. But
at the same time, I forgot to turn the box around before I put the lid on. At the same time, for the reasons I listed, it is going to leave the collection. But that is Phone Phever, the uproarious game of smartphones and phone smarts. Yeah. All right. That's it. Next
we have Pictopia. Now, we played this as a 2-player, and then again, we played it 4-player with Doug and Sarah.
I will say I much enjoyed it at 4 players versus 2
well,
players.
Doug and Sarah both are really into Star Wars.
They are. And Doug and Sarah are actually, Doug has actually run the one Star Wars game we used to play in all the time, back during our RPG days. And every once in a while, he'll still, matter of fact, he was running one prior to COVID, and COVID kind of killed it, I'm afraid. But, okay, so this is a trivia game. It's a picture-based trivia game. The cards are sitting on the table, so you always know what the next set of pictures is. Everybody has bidding chips that they bid. This is the score tracker, and then everybody there's a die, and your markers, and then everybody has their bidding wheel, essentially.
Their answer wheel.
Right. So what happens? Whoever's turn it is rolls the dice. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so 3. There's 5 or 6 different options on there. One of them, this symbol, simply means whoever's in the lead has to go back. I think 1 or 2.
On the score track.
Yeah. they basically lose a couple points on the score track. So it doesn't always pay to be ahead until the very end. That being said, both games we played, this got rolled one time.
Yep.
That was it. The other options on there, there's 5 different trivia type options. 1, 2, and 3. There's a 1, a 2, and a 3. All 3 of those are group answer questions. So whoever's turn it is reads the question indicated by the die, and everybody else gets to look at the card and decide what the answer is. Like, for example, answer to number 1, or question to number 1, which one of these scenes shows Chewbacca during the Clone Wars? And then everybody would look at the cards, pick their answer, and they can talk about it on this one.
A.
Yes, it's A. Everybody would look at the card. One person, they can talk about them. One person picks their answer on here or just says it. We were just saying that there was no reason to pick these up unless we had to. And then whoever's turn it was would, yep, that was the correct answer. No, it's not. If you were right, at the start of every round, you were bidding 1 to 5 secretly. If you were right, you got your bid. If you were wrong, you did not, but you didn't lose anything.
No.
But you lost the bidding chip.
Yes.
And then you did anyway, whether you were right or wrong. You lost the bidding chip, and then once one person was completely out of chips and they had to bid something, everybody got their bid chips back.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you lost them forever.
So it doesn't pay to really hold the 5 back?
It does not.
Because me and you got stuck with our 5, and Sarah
Probably how Sarah won.
Sarah and Deb used their 5 before
Right.
one of them went out.
So, but like that was question number 1. Number 3 is like pick 3 of these scenes. Which 3 of these scenes show Chewbacca after he began working with Han Solo?
Everything but A.
And again, you're all looking at all of these and deciding which ones it all is as a group. And then if everybody's right, you get what you bid. Unfortunately, you have to bid before you know
What the question
is going to
You
be.
can see what the picture's going to be.
Or
but,
if it's even going to be a group answer.
Yeah.
Because the next one is a solo answer. Everybody answers individually. Which one of these scenes takes place on Mos Eisley? Everybody answers individually. If you're right, you get your bid. And then the last one is the Force die. The Force side, which is on here somewhere, right there. That's that one. This is one where everybody answers, including the person whose turn it is. Like, for instance, this one is, which player do I think can roar most like Chewbacca? I would answer that as the person whose turn it is, and everybody else has to decide what I would answer. Not what they would answer, what I would answer. Some of these are kind of weird ones, like this one was, which one of these characters would I hire to smuggle important cargo across the galaxy? Just weird little things like that.
None.
Yeah, there's my choices. And on the back, it does give you the answer key, and it tells you a little bit about each of the characters and what movie they were from, what movie each of the scenes were from. Yep. So they do give you all this information on the back. At 2 players, I did not like it because the whole group thing just did not work.
No.
But at 4 players, I really enjoyed it. Sarah skunked us, but I really enjoyed it. So, at first, when we played this just 2 players, not realizing we were going to have this whole party game day thing, this was probably going to hit the sale pile. It was going to leave the collection. I think we're going to hold on to it now, at least until we get through all of the games and we see what trivias are left. Because some trivia becomes very outdated. This one is based on a very popular IP that a lot of people know.
This is iconic.
It is an iconic IP. It is a classic IP. So this one might just stick around. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, it is going to stick around. But that is Pictopia, the Ultimate Picture Trivia Game, Star Wars Edition. All right.
Next, we have a damaged box. This is Pictionary.
Pictionary, yes. Okay, again, classic game.
Got it at Goodwill.
This one we played, well, yes, yeah, definitely. This one we got to play with Chrissy, Greg, and Ben. And Ben, bless his heart, offered to be, what do you call it?
Artist,
the picturist.
The picturist.
Yeah, he offered to be the picturist. Greg and I against Chrissy and Ben, or Chrissy and Greg, I'm sorry. It's very confusing having 2 Gregs. Greg and
Good
I
Lord,
against...
there's 2 of me.
What
will the world do?
All, But anyway, so Chrissy stopped us. Chrissy and Greg stopped us. We at least got to like here before they won.
We got a little over halfway across the board.
Yeah, we were over in here somewhere, I think, before we missed. And anyway.
No.
All right.
Here's your finish line.
I know.
We were over here.
We were not. We got to over here somewhere. Yes, we did.
No.
We did, because we had a string of correct answers.
Of it.
We had a string of correct answers, and I rolled a couple sixes, and we managed to get around the board a little bit.
Okay.
We were over here somewhere.
Whatever you got to tell yourself.
Anyway. All right, so here's your board. Everybody has these little dice-like things that are, Anyway, those are your player markers. Pictionary is a classic game. We ended up actually pulling out, poor Ben felt so bad about wasting so much paper, we pulled out a dry erase board and a dry erase marker to do this. But the Picturist, depending on where you ended up, and again, if you split into teams,
one person draws, the other one's supposed to answer.
One person draws.
And we had 5 players.
Right. So, but there's different things on here. There's solo, there's group play, there's all sorts of different types of challenges on here, and half of the answers on each card are listed as group play.
Yes.
So, even if it was your turn to go or your team's turn to go, the other team may be drawing as well. And that was one reason Ben just decided he was going to draw for everybody, and we all just, if it was group play, we all guessed. If it was not group play, then just whoever's turn it was guessed. But these are your basic Pictionary clues. Walkman, peg, move, clash, jello, push up. Push up? We didn't have that one. Thank goodness. Twig. Oh, we'd have been all guessing all sorts of stuff. None of us would have ever said twig. So
it depends on how you drew the twig.
Okay. Anyway, it was fun. It is a classic game. Oop, I think I just put those in backwards. But I think we are going to let this one go. We decided that, again...
That's supposed to go in between.
Oh, yep, it is. Two reasons. One is the box size. I hate this box. Mm-hmm. It's awkward, and it doesn't fit with anything, and it's hard to store. But 2, I feel like anybody who would pull Pictionary off the shelf to play probably already has it at home.
The only thing I can really remember about the game, because I know we didn't get that far on the board, other than that,
we did too,
was Ben's drawing of receding hairline. He drew a head, and then he put hair all in it, and then he'd draw a little bit more of the head, and he'd erase some of the hair. And he'd draw a little bit more, and he'd erase some more of the hair. That was hilarious.
Was hysterical.
We were like, what is he doing?
It would not have worked had we not been using a dry erase board.
Yeah, right.
But it was hysterical.
Well, the pencils have erasers on them.
That's true. They did. So, okay. But anyway, so Pictionary is going to leave the collection. Yeah.
Next we have Pictionary Man Double Draw. And you covered up the guys with the rules.
You don't remember me putting this away? Because in order to avoid covering up the guys, I guess you could...
You could fold it and stick it in the side.
Yeah, I guess I could do that. But it's not folded yet. But, okay, here. I'll make you happy. How's that? Nope. Anyway. All right.
You talk, I'll fold. You talk, okay. I'll fold.
Anyway, so the way this one works. Oh my goodness, you're going to make that teeny tiny.
You talk, I'll fold.
Don't make it that small. Oh my gosh.
You talk.
Anyway, all right. Fold. So with this one, we got to play this with Doug and Sarah on Saturday. You have the 2 Pictionary Men. Hence why it's called Double Draw. You have all of these little props that you can use as well. There we go. See, just like that. And you can use these at any point. It's first come, first serve, though, if you have a group drawing. And then you have little dry erase markers that you can actually draw faces and whatnot directly on the guys. And then they say to use a wet rag to clean them because now my thumb is going to be black, but whatever. Anyhow, so the idea with this one is you split up into 2 teams, There are 2 sets of questions and a sand timer. You have, of course, a minute on the sand timer. There is pairs and there is classic. In order to win the game, you have to win 3 cards from each. Now, when you are playing classic, both teams are drawing at the same time. It's just whoever won the last card gets to choose whether you're doing classic or pairs. Mm-hmm. There is a die that you roll to determine what letter or what number on the card you're doing. Mm-hmm. So for instance, the die on here is showing a 4. 4 is bow or bow. The wonderful English language. It could be either one. It's B-O-W. So everybody, each person, each team would grab a guy. All of the little props are in the center of the table. The first person to grab them gets to use them and draw bow or bow or deaf or sister or ponytail or whatever the dice dictates. Whoever wins it gets to choose the next one. That's classic. Again, both teams are drawing, but you're drawing competitively. Then there's pairs. Why couldn't we have that one? Anyway, so I'm not sure how we'd have done it, but pairs is 2 things on the card, and whoever's turn it is gets to choose which item they're going to do of the 2, and then the other team has to draw the second one. Both teams are looking at both teammates drawing. So like Doug and I were usually drawing at the same time, and you and Sarah were drawing at the same time. But so Doug and I, on opposite teams, would have to split up fork and knife, or C-3PO and R2-D2, or tea and crumpets. We had tea and crumpets. I remember tea and crumpets.
Yeah.
Or hammer and nail, things like that. So it's 2 objects or 2 people or 2 places that go together, and each team has to draw one, but both teams have to come up with the pair at the same time, and whoever comes up with the pair gets the card and chooses the next topic. It was an interesting take on Pictionary. Mm-hmm. It was. Once again, though, we're going to let this one go. Again, I enjoyed this one, I think, more. It just had more variation, but there were a lot of items in here that were honestly starting to get dated.
Yeah.
Things that I was like, what in the world is that? Plus, it's the whole, you got to have a wet rag to dry erase on it. It was just, I can see it being an issue out somewhere and then having to go back and clean it properly so that it doesn't stain. So, but this one is going to leave as well, mostly because of the dry erase issues. That is Pictionary Man Double Draw. It's fun, but it is going to leave the collection. All right.
Okay. Next we have Blank Slate.
We played this one twice.
Did we?
Yes, because Ben skunked us.
Oh,
so we played again, and he skunked us again. All right, so this one, you were actually given this one and the next one as gifts from...
Were they really gifts? Or were they saving them from the trash dumpster?
Okay, that was probably more like it. So the idea with this one is everybody takes a slate of their color, and then everybody gets the dry erase marker. There is a box full of cards in here that have blanks on them. And the rules say you're supposed to pass the box around. We never did. Greg or I, it was between me and Greg, and we just always pulled it out and everybody answered it. So you pull out a card and you can play either side. You got to just decide which side you're playing. But like this one is blank power. Okay, so everybody takes their slate and they write a one-word answer. Star power, solar power, whatever. And after everybody's written their answer, everybody reveals at the same time. If you match nobody, because you know that's the goal in just one, you don't want to have no matches though. You want to try to match at least one person. If you matched nobody, you don't get any points. If you matched more than two people or more at the table, then you get 1 point. Everybody who matched gets 1 point. So if 3 of us had said solar power, we would all get 1 point. But if only 2 of us had said solar power and everybody else came up with something else, we would get 3 points each. Me and the other person who said solar power. So you're going through all of these until somebody hits 25. It was just fun.
Yep.
It was fun trying to come up with those answers. It was fun to compare answers and to laugh when somebody came up with something. It's like, where in the world did you get that answer?
Right.
It was fun.
And I like how on one side it's the beginning of the word.
Yeah.
On the other side it's the end of the word.
Right.
But although on this side,
on the gray
we were
side,
getting
it was
them
a
on
little
both,
bit of both. Yeah,
so.
It was a little bit of both. I really like this one.
Yep.
This is actually one we're thinking about for the end of the next 24. I think this would be a great way just to spend the last half hour after a 24-hour marathon. Now, mind you, it's going to be we're going to be punch drunk, basically. What's the word? Is that the way they phrase it? Anyway, we're all going to be exhausted. So it should be interesting. But yeah, that's what we're thinking. Oh. That did not get erased.
Who was red?
Mine. Crap, how did that happen? And that was the answer to power.
It was
power.
super.
That was my answer to power, too. It was superpower.
Uh-huh.
I did not get any points off that, by the way. Nobody else answered that same thing. Anyway, that's a shame. I can't believe I was the one who didn't erase. Everybody else erased. Yes. Ooh, grade needs to erase a little heavier, though. All right. Anyway, that is Blank Slate.
Yep.
Super fun game. I'm looking forward to playing this one. I think we played with 5 players. I think this would be a blast for the full party of 8.
Yep.
Yeah, good game. Anyway, Blank Slate, lots of fun. It is staying.
Next we have,
last
but not least, we have Hues and Cues.
Yes, this was another one that came from one of your clients at work, and
yep.
Yeah.
It was deemed for the dumpster.
It was. So Greg rescued them. This one and Blank Slate. All right, so we got to play this one with Ben, Chrissy, and Greg as well. And I've always heard interesting things. I've heard hit or miss things on this. I've heard some good stuff. I've also heard people going, it's so subjective. And it is.
It is.
All right, so the idea with this, and it was not as I expected, but you've got this entire board full of these color palettes, essentially. And I'm not going to open the entire board, but you get the basic idea. I'm trying not to rip the board as I try to open it. But anyway, you get the idea. So you've got this huge area, plus more on the back, of colors. On your turn, you play, depending on player count, you play a number of rounds, essentially, till everybody has been the clue giver twice. On your turn, you pick up a card. Now, they do say if you have younger players or more inexperienced players, they can literally just pick a color, know what their number is, write it down on something, and come up with something that matches that color, rather than trying to come up with something that matches one of these colors.
That was the hardest part, trying to figure out, how do I give a clue for this color? Because I don't even know what that color is.
Exactly. So you're coming up with clues based on one of these 4 colors. And you're looking at it on the board in comparison to everything else on the board. And of course, all of them are on the flip side. Well, F15's on this side. Yeah. Anyway.
There's F.
Yep, F15 is going to be right here. So it's going to be, I don't know, maybe I could say lipstick, but how many different shades of lipstick are there?
Exactly.
And I don't wear pink lipstick, so nobody would get that. You could say, you can't say pink, but you could say rosy.
Or fuchsia.
Fuchsia.
Although fuchsia's up in here.
Fuchsia's a brighter pink. Yeah, fuchsia's up in that area. But anyway, you come up with a 1-word clue. And then everybody takes one of their little pieces and tries to decide what you meant by that clue. And then after everybody's gone, in a snake draft fashion, you go backwards this time, the clue giver can give a 2-word clue if they wish. Now, it could be another 1-word clue, but they can give a 2-word clue for the same thing. Okay, so maybe I'll say cotton candy. Well, it's a little dark for cotton candy, but maybe it'll at least get them in the ballpark. So I'll say cotton candy. And then everybody will once again go, Well, I don't know. Cotton candy
candy's
is about
more like that, yeah.
color there. Okay. And then when all's said and done and everybody's placed their pieces out, is that actually F15? No. F15 is right there. So it was close. So you put the little window over with the number you're actually reaching for in the very center. Anybody who made the right number, anybody who guessed F15 gets 3 points. Right? Yes, 3 points.
Yes, 3 points.
Everybody else inside the square gets 2. Everybody directly outside of the square. So if he had said this one, or this one, or even, whoops, if I can get to it, or even this one, he'd have gotten 1 point off of it. Anybody beyond that gets nothing. You don't get any points off of it. The clue giver gets 1 point for every single person inside the square. So I'd get 1 point. To me, it was a little more subjective than I'd hoped. I not that I didn't enjoy it, but it was not as much fun as I'd hoped for. So, yeah, I don't know. We are going to hold on to it because it is a very popular game right now. And I could definitely see the appeal, but it is definitely not something that, I don't know, maybe with a larger group.
What's this play up to? 10?
10. Yeah, it's a pretty large group game. But that
it's a team building game.
It is a, there you go. Okay. Anyway, something from work.
Don't like the grin.
No, something from work. I'll explain later. Anyway, Hues and Cues. Oh my gosh. You were a pain in the rump.
Children.
Hues and Cues, a vibrant game of colorful communication. Anyway, that is it for this episode. That is all of our party games for the Ps, and I don't even think, and even a couple go-backs. We did have the Blank Slate and Hues and Cues were go-backs. But we wanted to include them in here with the party games because that's what they are. But that's it.
Till then, we'll see you at the next one.